Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. I hope you are all doing great. So today we are gonna start our IELTS speaking overview. Okay, before moving to our new session, I would like to talk about our previous session. Basically, yesterday we have done a video that was regarding IELTS reading, specifically list of heading. I know it is one of the most difficult and challenging module. Whatever I am saying, like it's the most difficult part among all kind of question patterns during IELTS reading module. So, okay, I would like to request all of you, if you haven't watched this video yet, okay, I think you should go through it first and then you have to look at this video. Okay, I'm putting the link below the comment section. Hope for the best for everybody. So without any kind of delay, we are just moving to our new session that is regarding IELTS speaking overview. I think we almost all know about and the time duration about IELTS speaking that is normally held for like 11 to 14 minutes. Sometimes it may take more than 14 minutes, but it is rare case. Okay, for average time, it's like 11 to 14 minutes. Normally, each IELTS section, right, like each IELTS speaking section, it has three parts. Part one, part two, and part three. Normally, part one, the examiner asks you some questions that is very normal and personal questions. And for part two, the examiner asks you about like a cue card, and uh, you are given only 1 minute for taking some notes, and yeah, you are also given 2 minutes for speaking. Okay, so for the part three, you are just like okay, you are asked by the examiner regarding or that is well known for follow-up questions. So normally I think it's a very informal test, and that's why the examiner testifies your four criteria. For example, fluency, pronunciation, vocabulary, grammar, and coherence. So here for the next slide, we can also have a look at here. It has four criteria, as I said earlier. But yeah, for band score or score, yeah, we can see that for fluency and coherence, it is allocated almost 25% of the whole score. And for pronunciation, yeah, it's also for 25%. And for grammatical range and accuracy, it is also 25%. And last but not the least is 25% for lexical resources. That is also known for vocabulary, idiomatic expression, and so on. Okay, here I'm sharing a band descriptor where you can just go through this band descriptor that is a PDF form. And yeah, I'm also sharing this link below the comment section so that you can have a look and get used to with the complete proper band descriptor, how the examiner examines us or how the examiner just puts the mark based on our performance. Okay, so for the next slide we can see, and now we are just moving to in depth. Okay, so here, this is part one, interaction and interview. That is like it takes almost 4 to 5 minutes. Here, these question and answer sessions are very short. The examiner, first of all, asks you about your name, like okay, what is your full name, please? Or may I know your full name, please? This is how the examiner just tries to break the ice, okay? And then the examiner asks you some questions regarding your future plans, social issues, culture, health, environment, tech and media, travel and tourism, education and work, hobbies. And yeah, there are a lot of questions regarding part one. Yeah, you can also follow some books, for example, a Makkar book that is a big hit in Bangladesh. So yeah, you can also go through Makkar book for getting some in details or various questions. Either they are very current questions or previous questions. Just get used to with them. That is the main thing. Okay, we are going to our next slide here. We can see how we can answer for part one. Here, just try to follow this trick. First of all, you have to understand the question first, okay? Like, and then answer you properly. Exactly, you have to answer. So give a direct answer first, and then add one or two sentences explaining or giving an example. Yeah, that's not mandatory to add an example for part one. But yeah, sometimes you can also add an example, okay? And then keep your answers very short, two to four sentences, okay? So here, I just try to add some examples. Like, if the examiner asks you about home and family, the examiner may ask you, okay, where do you live, or where do you live, or where are you from? Like something, just explain where do you live. For example, I reside in Dhaka or I live in Dhaka. So it's not answer. Okay, yeah, you have already answered the proper question for like where do you live? You live in Dhaka. That's perfect. But you have to elaborate like where do you live? I live in Dhaka. Like you have been living here since last 10 years or since something. Okay, and what the place is famous for. Okay, this is how you can elaborate your answer. Do you like your hometown? Is like a yes no type question. Yeah, the examiner asks you about what, or yes no question, or like a location or what, like something. So whatever they ask you, just try to understand what actually the examiner is being asked. Okay, that's the main thing. Okay, for the next slide we can see it's a cue card. Normally, it takes 3 to 4 minutes, not more than 4 minutes, because 1 minute preparation. Because here you are given only 1 minute for taking some notes. Yeah, you are also given a pencil and paper. Okay, and then you are given 2 minutes, 1 to 2 minutes, to speak. Okay, so you get a cue card with a topic and then 3 to 4 bullet points. You speak about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Okay, and now we have to know how to answer, right? So first of all, you have to read the cue card properly and carefully and think of ideas in 1 minute. Yeah, follow the bullet points to structure your answers like direction, main points, example, and conclusion. Okay, here you may also use some idiomatic expression that is completely relevant to your cue card. If it is not relevant to your answer, try to avoid this, because if you are putting them forcefully, it doesn't sound natural. Rather, you have to avoid them. Okay, so focus on your natural tone and focus on your fluency, coherence, and so on. So just go with the flow. That's my main tip and trick for you. Okay, and try to speak fluently 1 to 2 minutes until the examiner stops you, and that's the main important thing. So if you can, just okay, I'm giving here some examples. Describe a memorable trip, where, when, who, why, memorable. That's the thing. Okay, so the next question is describe a teacher who influenced you. Describe a favorite book or movie. Okay, just try to read more and try to understand, and then create some memories or create some or generate some ideas so that you can be fluent as much as you want. Okay, so now we are moving to our next slide, that is a discussion that is more like follow-up questions. So based on your cue card, the examiner will ask you some questions, and it takes almost 4 to 5 minutes. Yeah, this is completely the opposite type of questions for from part one, because for part one I would say they ask you about very short question and you cannot speak more than 20 seconds, but for part three it takes almost 40 to 60 seconds. That means you can speak 1 minute. Okay, so here, how can you answer this, right? Most of the students are struggling with part three after part two because they really don't know how to answer. They really don't know, okay, how much they have to talk about this. Okay, so here each questions needs like 40 to 16 seconds. In that case, you have to give your opinions, reasons, and example. Okay, and sometimes the questions may be compare or predict or something disgusting like this. For example, here, if the examiner asks you about traveling, do people travel more nowadays? And why? Like here, the examiner asks you two questions. So first of all, you have to answer the question like, do people travel more nowadays? It is more like yes or no type question. If you answer this yes, like positively, yeah, it doesn't matter whether the answer is positive or negative. But the main focus is how you can elaborate and how you can add an example here, right? There's the main thing. Like, do people travel more nowadays? Yeah, personally, I believe, yeah, people are traveling more nowadays because just add an example. And sometimes you have to add an example after elaborating your answer. Okay, and yeah, it's when it comes about education, like it's a topic regarding your Q card. Examiner may ask you, how can teachers motivate students effectively? So here the examiner wanna know from you like how. That means it's the method, not like yes no question. Here, if you answer like it is yes or no, I think it has a red flag for you. So for the next example, uh, do children read less now? Like something is yes or no. So first of all, you have to answer yes or no, and then elaborate or develop your answer, and then add an example. Yeah, here we can see also it is a double question. And what are the effects? So first of all, you have to answer the first one and then answer the second one. Okay, that's the main thing. You have to answer both of them and or develop them properly. And the next question is, how can communities preserve cultural heritage? So here the examiner want to know from you, how can communities, that means it's a process or methods or the ways how they can do this, something like this. Here you are elaborating your idea by creating or generating ideas by adding some issues like yes no questions or something like this. I think, yeah, it's also a red flag for you. So I think